worried about the current financial crisis, you should be here at the 2009 Asia Society Texas Center Annual Corporate Conference that has brought together experts from US and China to ponder about the current situation. Hello and welcome. I'm Ruchi Mukherjee for TV Asia here at the Intercontinental Hotel in Houston, bringing you details from the event. What are we to be expecting today at the Tiger Ball this evening?
Will be a great evening to showcase China, its truly splendors of China. I think Asia Society has done an amazing job under the leadership of, first of all, the chairman, Charles Foster, and Martha Blackwelder, the executive director, and her staff have done a great job. So I call them Team Martha. I really enjoy the conference. All the presenters provided very informative analysis of the current financial crisis. And also the audience have raised some good questions as well.
The first speaker will be Mr. Martyn Goossen, the president of JP Morgan Chase here in Houston, a Houstonian, and of course known to many of you here. I hope that he will help us share with us sort of news from the front line, from the banking financial sector. And I promised him that none of us would heckle him as a banker who got us into all this. The second speaker, Mr. Yueh, the Economic Commercial Counselor, is also an adopted Houstonian here representing the People's Republic of China. And I hope that he will share with us some of the views about China's economy. When I was last there in November, I felt the Chinese government really was very concerned, very nervous about what was happening. And the figures since then actually have become much colder, much sharper. Third, but not least certainly, is Henny Sender, a well-known journalist from the Financial Times now, but previously in Asia with the Far Eastern Economic Review, and who knows these issues and the region of Asia and China very well.
First, everybody's talking about this as a financial crisis, and indeed it started as a financial crisis, but today we actually have a full-blown economic crisis. And again, as a banker, I guess I take some small responsibility for the economic crisis because the financial crisis actually led to that. And so we do feel like today, while the financial crisis is very much at the center of this, I think we need to draw the broader implications of what's going on here. It's not just about the banks anymore. It's not about the mortgage companies. It's not about borrowers and mortgage borrowers. It's about broad economies globally today, and that's a very key theme for us to remember. In July of 2007, I don't know if we can remember 18 months ago, a crack in the system began with the collapse of two hedge funds that were ironically managed at that time by Bear Stearns, and it's ironic because JP Morgan Chase, my organization, today owns Bear Stearns. Not those hedge funds, of course. But those hedge funds cracked in July of 2007, and from that point forward, we've been on a steady trail downwards, and it's been a very disappointing period for sure. The financial crisis really started as a credit crisis, and the credit crisis really was something we all should have seen coming. I should have put some charts up, but again, the faint of heart might not have liked them. What happened here was that debt in the United States, total debt, consumer debt, government debt, debts of all forms in the United States, by the time we got to the peak of this period, had reached 380% of US GDP. Now, to put that number in context, that going back to 1952 when that measure was actually started, debts were 120% at that point in time of GDP. So it tripled the size of debt to the entire GDP of the United States. And when everybody would say, oh, of course, the U.S. government's been, printing money, been borrowing money, but in fact, the U.S. government portion of total debt in the U.S. has been very steady at around 80%, between 80% and 100% of GDP for that entire period. In fact, the real problem here has been the explosion of debt in every other private sector, whether it be the consumer, whether it be in corporations, or more importantly, and the most difficult challenge was the increase in debt by financial companies, banks.
The Chinese export dropped by minus 17.5% in January. So this is the biggest challenge for Chinese economy, the shrinking external demand. And also we facing the overcapacity in some sectors, difficult business conditions for enterprises, rising unemployment in urban area, and great downward pressure on economic growth. But Chinese government has acted in an active and responsible way during this crisis. We mainly rely on expanding effective domestic demand, particularly consumer demand, to boost the economic growth. We have made a timely adjustment to the direction of our macroeconomic policy and swiftly adopted a proactive fiscal policy and moderately easy monetary policy.
I'm going to start out with a confession and an anecdote. And both of these are ways of stating the very obvious, that there is no such thing as decoupling in the world. My confession is that as a permanent resident of Hong Kong, I'm allowed to buy renminbi. In other words, I'm a conflicted speaker. Every day I buy renminbi and sell dollars. And this is because I have so much confidence in the future of China. And I don't mean to understate the challenges, but part of my speech is to tell you why I am optimistic about China, both for general reasons which have to do with the human capital, which is on display here as everywhere else, but also because I think that China has adopted a very appropriate mix of monetary and financial policies. I often feel that I see China through Indian eyes, since I was a student in India for many years, and through Japanese eyes, since I lived in Japan for many years. And one of the most exciting things for me in China, over the 20-some years that I've been going to China, is to see the desire of the Chinese to become part of the world and to learn from the world, in both positive and negative senses.
I'm here basically to understand exactly different viewpoints, because the crisis is global. And interestingly, one of the keynote speakers today is one of our board members, Rick Paul, who does a lot of business with India and China. And we were here to understand the different insights. Rick has a lot of experience doing business with China. He is an American and he's a member of our chamber, so that was my real hook for being here. But the chamber works very closely with the Asia Society, and we were very pleased to support the event, publicize it, and I'm looking forward to learning from the shared knowledge of all the panelists.
Rick, how did you enjoy the conference?
It was great. I was actually speaking on the entrepreneur stuff and how innovation can get us out of this crisis. So it was a great panel. I was joined by Linda, who's from London School of Economics, and also someone from Texas Heart Institute. So it was a good discussion on energy and health, and how in US-China relationship can help revitalize the economy.
Well, I'll go back to what you said, is how innovation can take us from this crisis. How exactly? Just in a few lines, could you explain that?
Sure. Means I think most of the businesses actually do fairly well in a recession if they are well diversified globally. So, and some actually businesses get started during recession. So examples are FedEx and Microsoft. So there are opportunities in in good times and bad times, especially for smaller entrepreneurial companies. I think it's a very good time, because some of the bigger companies are holding back, and companies like mine, which is a green company making energy efficient products, we feel it's a good time because we can compete on a better footing with some of the bigger players, and it goes all around. So I think, and basically the stimulus bill and what everyone is saying is that we have to innovate our way out of it, because I think it's time like these where we need to kind of control our cost and stuff like that, and so we need some new thinking coming into the picture, and I think that's where innovation is going to be a key player.